And I just remember it took me a while and to figure out like, why am I not sad? And why, why do I feel like this doesn't matter, that I don't care? Not that I don't care, but like, why doesn't this feel normal? Why isn't this normal grieving?
Okay guys, welcome to Young and Gifted, the podcast where we talk to young and gifted individuals and we get to dive into their minds a little bit and figure out more about them and how we could become better from their stories. Tonight we have a really special guest, someone who I was looking at on Instagram, and I felt like we needed to get this person because of the person's strengths and from what I've seen, Yeah, so tonight we have Genevieve Kroeker. She's a owner of a small business, which is Seed Confections, which is located in St. Thomas, Ontario. So hi Jen, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm a little nervous.
Oh yeah, that's okay. Thanks for taking time to come on.
Yeah.
I know that we didn't really prepare any scripts, as most people think we prepare scripts, but I felt like if we was to just have a conversation, it would be way better than if we were to try to narrow it down to speaking on certain things.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's more organic and it just kind of flows and makes it more interesting.
Exactly. So tonight is about you, and is about from the post I seen on Instagram and stuff. I feel like you like talking about like the strengths and pushing through things, even though it seems hard, and it's something that I could relate to, and I still like hearing people speak about, because at times when it get hard, you want to hear someone speak about that this is just for a time, and to me it was nice to go through the Instagram and see, like honestly, I tell people all the time when it comes to the podcast, is me more finding people who I personally think interesting.
Okay.
That I could be like, yeah, I could, like, it must be somebody who I could see, and I could be like, yeah, I could kick it with this person because this person would speak of things of substance, and it wouldn't just be a conversation that would die and
a surface level. Hey, look at the weather.
Exactly,
Exactly. Yeah,
So I really wanted you to be here to speak, and thanks for making the time. Again.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Appreciate your kind words, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So, are you from London?
No, I'm from St. Thomas.
Okay.
So my business operates in St. Thomas.
Yeah.
I was born in the St. Thomas Hospital. I grew up outside of St. Thomas in somewhere called Shedden. It's like 300 people, very small. But I went to school, elementary school, high school. So St. Thomas is my hometown.
Yeah.
I left when I went to college, and I found myself back about 10 years later, and I wanted to stay, and here's a business. So I did it.
Yeah, and it's a nice town. Like, it is growing right now and that kind of stuff. Rachel McAdams was from there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Joe Thornton.
I don't know who's Joe.
He's a hockey player.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is a big thing in small towns, right?
Yeah. And in Canada it's big,
Yes.
My country is more like football, soccer.
Yeah.
So I don't know hockey. I never watched a hockey game in my life.
Do you know what? I have watched so many hockey games, and I still don't know all the rules. So they're on the ice. They play.
I never even ice skated before.
You have? It's fun.
No.
You should.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I need to. I tell my wife all the time. I tell her that she's falling short. I'm like, I tell her, you're supposed to teach me everything that white people do, and you don't teach me these things. Ice
skating is like top of the list.
Yeah,
too. Winter.
I'm like, you need to do these things.
Yes.
So she's like our daughters, they do ice skating and that kind of stuff. But I never been ice skating.
Okay, so they're gonna take you out.
She was supposed to. She doesn't like the cold. She doesn't like the cold, and I don't like the cold. And it's like, okay, so I'm an island boy.
That's fair.
She's from here. She's supposed to like the cold, but
she's supposed to like the cold, teach you everything about the cold in the winter and all the thing white people do.
Oh yeah, exactly. She doesn't do anything. I teach her country music. I show her country music. I was like, this is good. she's something else. But
Amazing.
yeah, it's Canada is different, right? And it's nice. Like I don't hate the cold. I'm just starting to understand the cold.
Okay.
You know, and like my brother last year, they go to Port Stanley every Saturday morning
Okay.
and do polar dips in the winter.
Yes,
yeah.
I've seen those people.
Yeah, so it was him and his friend, and I know they were like on the Weather Network and that kind of stuff in Canada. And from him doing it, I would go out and shoot because it's content for me, right?
Of
I would go
course.
out and shoot, and then I started realizing that it is in your mind and you have to be strong. So now what I do is I just put on like a hat and I put gloves on, like
Okay.
mittens, not gloves,
Yeah.
mittens, and I'll go and clean off my car with no shirt on once I have on those things, because I'm like, this time I try to get my mind right and enjoy it. Like if it's gonna be cold most of the year, I need to become one with it,
Yes, you
Or
have
else
to,
I'm
but
gonna
you
be
have
depressed.
to prepare yourself.
Exactly,
Yes,
exactly.
I understand that. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it make no sense to be depressed most of the year, and then summer is also like prime time for business,
Yes.
So if all winter you stay inside and be depressed, and then summer you work, and then you never really get to enjoy life. So
No. And there's so much to do, even in this area, right? Like St. Thomas is a small town, but if you want to go ice skating or if you want to go like skiing, snowboarding, we have some places in London and we have some places that are like 3 hours from here.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to embrace the winter
I need to.
and the cold,
I need to.
get into it. And
I need to get into it. I need to do more small steps.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
cleaning my car is one step.
No one's doing the polar bear plunge next. That's not step 2.
I might do it once or twice.
Okay.
But that's it. But
Okay, fair.
yeah, it's just baby steps to get into where you want to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you said that where did you go to college?
So I went to Niagara.
Yeah.
So the campus is in like St. Catharines, but it's just outside Niagara Falls. And I went to culinary school there. I did
okay.
a 2-year program, which I did right out of high school. So by the time I was 19, I was done college and off to working.
Yeah.
Which was a really nice thing. All of my friends were getting into university, 3rd year, and I was heading into the trades and done and ready to go off. And so I feel like I got the opportunity really young to figure out kind of what I wanted to do, and I've stuck to it and I love it, and not a lot of people get that.
Yeah.
Right? So it also makes every day kind of a little bit easier. I get to do my job that I enjoy, and I don't drag through just trying to,
Yeah, and
make a paycheck.
It's interesting because a lot of the times, first time before we even go there, I also did culinary school.
You did?
At Fanshawe.
Okay.
At Fanshawe, and I was on the culinary team.
Yeah.
And the teacher who was in charge of the culinary team, he actually moved to Niagara to teach in Niagara, Chef Beckler. This is probably after, I don't know, like this. He recently moved.
Okay.
So unless you finish school within the past 5 years, you won't know who he is.
No, I must have.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been over 15, I think now. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me too. No, for me it's like almost 15.
Yeah.
Almost 15 years. Yeah, that's crazy. I thought I'd be young forever, but so I was gonna say like doing something that you love, is a blessing, and that could sometimes seem like a curse.
Absolutely.
Because a big part of doing something that you love, and I was talking to my wife Christine yesterday about it, and I was telling her the hard part about doing something that you love, and if I ever speak too fast for you, just let me know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the hard part about doing something that you love is that you feel bad for charging what you worth sometimes.
Yes.
So I don't know if you probably passed that stage because you've been doing that but I now start what I love, so it's different.
Yes. I think that's true for everyone, especially when you own your own business. And I would do things like take custom orders. So we do custom cookies. We do a lot of macaroons, custom chocolates. So I would take these orders and then I would get very into them. So they would come with an idea and I was like, I can do this 100 times better. Let me see what I can do. And I would get creative and I would try to make, 6 versions of it to get the perfect one. And then I would get it to the customer and be like, yeah, that was kind of not worth my time, but I loved doing it and I spent my own hours doing it. And so, yeah, I can fall into the trap of like, I love this so much that I still essentially like don't charge enough for some things because I get so into it, or I'm charging too much, or I feel like I'm charging too much because I'm like, this is just something that I like doing. Why are you paying me to do this? I would be doing this with my spare time if you let me. But I find that it's a tough balance as a business because you have to make money and you want to. I guess you don't have to. You want to do what you love. And yeah, it's as joyful as it is, it feels like a lot of pressure at the same time that you're like, you're paying me for doing this. I can't believe it. I love it. It also feels like a lot of pressure because essentially everything you make, you're writing your name on it.
Exactly.
And passing it over and being like, please like this, please enjoy it. Like, let me know if I did something wrong. You kind of become this people pleaser, all in this mixed, I'm charging too much, I'm not charging enough, this took too much time, I wish I made it a different color, please like me. It's a very odd headspace to be in.
It's like being vulnerable, right? It's like any artist, you know, it's like you do something that was in your mind and you want people to like it the way you think they should like it, you know?
Yes.
Like a lot of times I'll do a video for someone and they'd be like, yo, oh my gosh, I love this video so much. And then they wouldn't post it right away. And I'd be like, why didn't post it right away? In my mind, I'm like, why didn't post this right away? You know, so it's like that kind of thing. It's like trying to separate your passion and the business side.
Yes.
You know, and it's hard because a lot of the times you see a lot of your friends who chose to not follow their passion, live life and go on trips and go on vacations. Mm-hmm. And you're here with this dream and you're like, am I that crazy person who I see all the time and say, yo, that person is crazy? Or
yeah, and then I'm like, well, I have this crazy idea. I might do this extra thing. So my friends are going on vacation, and I'm like, should I go to the bank for a loan? Because I have this crazy idea to do this other business thing, right? And yeah, you're kind of looking at them, and I have some friends that, you know, they are done their day, and they just check out, and they're done, and they go on with life.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can't do that in some circumstances, in some jobs, and even just some personalities that you just, you know.
It's different. It's different. I speak about it with my friends all the time because this one time one of my friends called me brave, you know, and I'm like, and I told them, I say, I don't know, I think it's insulting to call me brave when I think you brave because everything that I do is motivated by fear in the sense that I'm fearful to be that person that never did.
Yeah. You don't want to be the person who has all the regrets at the end.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, and to me, you brave because you decide to take that risk and enjoy life now.
Yes.
You know, whereas I decide to try to enjoy life later, but then I promised, you know? And a lot of the times when you're broke, you don't stay being broke. When you make money, you're like, you know what? If I made this money, what will make me more money is if I reinvest this money.
Absolutely.
Rather than taking this money and going. So it's a part of life where you're like, I don't know, I don't want to be called brave because I feel like when somebody call me brave, it means that I have a strength that you don't have. When I think I'm normal, I just decide to take a risk up front rather than a risk in the end.
Which is fair. And I think it also depends on, like, your idea, your definition of what brave is.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you break it down onto paper, it's like you every day do something that you maybe aren't the best at, don't know the most about yet, but you try. And now you know a little bit more than you did yesterday. And you're doing something that scares you, but, you know, you're still doing it, and you might regret it later and you might not want to have done it, or it might be the best opportunity, but you don't have the regret that you never tried. And so I think outside of any circumstance, if you look at that, that is bravery, right? And so bravery looks different, right? Sometimes it's going and doing your dreams and opening a business and you know, starting a family and doing all of those things because they're also hard and you have to work for them and they take a lot of your time and energy. And I think any time that you can like fully commit to that and challenge yourself in those days, you fall within that bravery category. Because I think people expect this bravery to be this some giant heroic Superman type mentality.
And I feel that's my issue too, because I feel like when somebody call you brave, they shut down all the days where you don't feel brave. So when somebody call me brave, I'm like, I don't think you know me. You know, I don't think you know me to see how it actually is. I was talking to someone at the shop the other day and I was telling them is that I feel like most people don't understand when someone say they're chasing their dreams and you say, you know what, I know it's going to have some hard days. I don't think people understand that these hard days are way more frequent than the good days.
Absolutely.
You know, like you have like a few good days that worth everything, but then the hard days are way more.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it's that sort of like social media mentality, right? That people get locked into. It's that you can put an edited picture and you can put all of the beautiful fun times with the happy smiling faces. But that's no one's reality all the time.
Exactly.
But it's all you see, right? So I feel like people really don't understand the days that you aren't feeling brave.
Yeah.
And I think that's just kind of like human nature in a weird way. And I find too that the people who, I'm going to say, and this is such a general statement and I feel bad even saying it, but the people that are the ones who have shown to be brave are usually the ones who have had more hard days than the ones who have, you know, complained for the circumstances they've put themselves in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If you want to make changes, if you're unhappy with things in your life, you are forced to confront what you don't like, what are those changes you have to make, and that's very hard. And so you're going to have a lot of really, really hard days trying to get to that, you know, the good part. Absolutely. And I think too, the number of people that have said this to me about being strong, especially, so I was diagnosed with breast cancer last year. And everybody said to me, like, you're so strong. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate it. But I found that the wording was almost wrong because it wasn't that I wanted to be strong. It's that I was forced into it.
Yeah.
Right? It was like I was working out because I had no other option. And that's what made me strong. So I found that realizing like being forced into showing myself how strong I had to be, not how strong I was, because it is like this fight of like you're forced into this. And I feel like it's sort of that same idea with like this bravery is that you have all these days that you're forced into that make you look really strong. Yeah. And you have weeks and weeks and months of days that were awful that you had to sludge through to get to those, right? Yeah. And I find too, I disappear when I'm like not like busy or working or not doing well or whatever. I just disappear from people. I retreat back and I just give myself space, and then kind of nobody expects anything of me, if that makes sense. So you have these days that you kind of buy yourself time, that you don't have to be brave and strong, and it just kind of like you just ghost and become a shadow and do what you need to do for yourself. I find those are my best way to get like over that hump of like, this is awful, but the next stage is going to be worth it. Yeah. This day sucks, but the next day is going to be fantastic. That I just shut down and I kind of retreat.
Reset.
And I reset.
Yeah, absolutely. So I try to do it like once a week on a Sunday, but I have kids. So the thing with me is that even during my reset, I have to be that strong guy, you know, and I have to be that guy who's like, you know, like even me starting this podcast too, like I have a bunch of reasons why. But another reason was that I wanted my kids to see that I never waited for opportunities, you know. I always created my own opportunities, no matter what it was. The barbershop, the film production, everything that I did, I created that opportunity for myself, you know.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to see that it's possible, but I also don't want them to feel like it's always gonna be a bright day, which is hard because they're so young. Like how to protect them from it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
do I block them from everything or do I let them see some things?
Yeah.
So it is hard like that. And but every Sunday I try to take like an hour and I go into the bathroom. I'll play like I like to listen to gospel to reset, you know?
Yeah.
But everybody know how to do it. Everybody have their own way. So I'll go into the bathroom, quiet space, listen to it. I will cry for a little while too, you know, just let everything out. And that's just me resetting my spirit and going through every emotion in that hour.
Yeah.
So that at the end of it, I could come out with an answer. You know, it's like, okay, it's everything is for a reason, you know. And if it was easy, then everybody would do it. And you try to tell yourself these things, you know, and it makes sense because it does help a lot. And the rewards for chasing your dreams is the feeling that when you look back, you could see that you do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I look back at episodes of the podcast even and I'm like, you know, I do it for myself, you know. You say I was going to do something and then you do it.
And then you actually did it. And then you look back and you have that, holy, I actually did it.
Exactly, you know, and then you're like, what now? You know?
That's always the problem because when you have that spirit, what now? I find that I'm a very personal person, but also a private person. So I like to remind people kind of that I'm human and that I have these emotions and I have these bad days, and I don't have children, so I don't have to worry about kind of being that strong person. But I know that I've talked to a lot of kind of people about parenting and how do you do it? How do you parent through grief? How do you parent through those times when you're like, I have to be emotional and there's no other option? And so I think for me, it's that reminding me that like, this is human. We are humans. This is how I feel. I can share this. Some people will relate and some people will obviously be like, you know what? We get it. You're sad. It's cool. Right. And that's just what it is. And so I think the biggest thing is for me is to find like what makes me feel better in it. Right. And if it's that hour to yourself and if it's sharing with people, that's great. For me, I'm usually like, something happened. I'm going to retreat for a week. I'm going to process this. I'm going to figure out how I feel about this. I'm going to go through all of it. And then I'm going to share.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I really liked when I went to Instagram is that it was so much there that was vulnerable, you know? Which is a hard thing to do. It's hard to, especially when you're somebody chasing a dream. So you're already being vulnerable in one place, and to be vulnerable in the next place is something that most people are scared to do. And I related it in the sense that I remember when I was 16 and my mother had breast cancer.
Okay.
Yeah, and she came to us and she told us that she had breast cancer. You know, and me being a 16-year-old who looked up to my mother this much, I still, till this day, if I'm doing something bad, she's the voice I hear. You know?
She's the voice of your conscience.
Exactly, you know? So at 16 years old, when your mom tells you she has cancer, the only way I knew to deal with it was to push her away.
Yeah.
You know, until one day she said, she told me, she sat me down and she asked, why do we keep fighting? You know, she's like, why do we have to keep fighting? And then is when I started to realize that I was being selfish and me making, even if the worst was to happen, it wasn't something that I should have put her through at that time.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, but now we good. Now we good. This was a long time ago, and I learned so much from that. You know, I learned how to be I think that period teach me how to be a better father.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because my father wasn't there to be like, oh yeah, come, let me give you a hug.
Yeah.
My father never hugged us and that kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
So it was different, you know.
Yeah.
Now he's trying to be better, you know, but as a 16-year-old boy, it was hard.
Yeah.
You know, so me going through all these Instagram posts, it kind of reminded me because you guys would have been around the same age when it happened.
Okay.
And it just kind of reminded me, and I'm like, oh, you know, so me seeing somebody be vulnerable like that was huge, and it inspired me to be more, you know, to just to be more and to be more vulnerable. Sometimes I could put some things out that a lot of the things I try to keep inside. You know, and that's why people think I'm a beast all the time. They're like, oh yeah, we could go for Vaughan for help. We could go to Vaughan for advice. But when Vaughan needs advice, who could he
do
go
you go
to
to?
when
Yeah.
he gives everyone else advice?
And I run into the same thing. I become the go-to for people. And a lot of times it's because I've gone through an experience that they're now going through. Unfortunately, I've been through enough experiences, unfortunately, in my life that I can help people. But also, I've done a lot of work on myself. I've done a lot of therapy. I've done a lot of time to figure out who I am, what I want, what I like, who do I want to be, what impact do I want to make on the world. Like, if I am a small part of your book, what feeling do I want you to leave with? Do you want to be the random stranger who came in? Everyone's like, well, she was pretty nice. I like her, right? Or do you want to be that like, ugh, hope that character doesn't come back?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry, sometimes my train of thought is still gone from, from chemo.
Yeah.
My brain wanders a lot still. So, but yeah, I just, I want to be the voice in the world that I wish, those moments of like, I wish I would have from my past. I want to be that person now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll explain a little bit. So when I was 16, actually, I grew up with my grandparents. And when I was 16, they both passed away. And so for a year, I got to help take care of my grandfather who had dementia. And so I got to learn sort of this caregiver role. But it was this natural, it was my grandparents. Like, it was nothing out of the ordinary when they passed away. That's how life is supposed to work. And I remember when my grandma passed away a couple months later, she ended up just having a heart attack right after my grandpa died. And I remember thinking, like, this is so unfair. Why is this happening? Why do I have to be here for all of this? Like, I'm 16, and I remember not crying. That same, like, you're 16. Your priorities are different. You're not grown enough to make, those emotional decisions that you would to show up in your adult life, right?
Yeah.
So, and I just remember it took me a while and to figure out, like, why am I not sad? And why do I feel like this doesn't matter, that I don't care? Not that I don't care, but like, why doesn't this feel normal? Why isn't this normal grieving? I should be sad all these people died. But I realized that I got all of these years because I lived with them that I would never get. You don't get those opportunities. You go to your grandparents' house for a weekend or you see them at a holiday. And I got, from the time I was like 5 till the time I was about 16, with them. I got to see them every day. I used to go over, because they lived in like a separate part of the house, I would go over and play Jeopardy every night. And so it's one of those things that if I had to trade that 10 years of a life with them to give up being there at the end and having those memories, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because I got so much more out of it. And it took me a long time as a teenager, yes, to come to that conclusion of like, or I guess as an adult, to come to the conclusion before, like, I remember thinking, I don't think I was there enough for my parents. I'm 16. That's not my job. Do you know? This is not my job. I'm not supposed to be taking on this responsibility. But you don't know what else to do, right? And so you isolate and so I think I've had a few experiences in my life that have prepared me to be the friend for people and be that resource that people come to. But yeah, like you said, then you're stuck with it. And if
Exactly.
you're an empath, you're stuck with everything that people just told you throughout your day of even sitting in the barber chair and right, like
and you carry everyone's load, right?
you
Yeah.
do, yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the times is because, like, for me, gathering from your personality and stuff, and from how I know myself, is a lot of the times is that you don't want people to feel the way you feel.
Yeah.
And people take that for granted. That people think, oh, this person must be so strong because they have all the advice. But it's like, no, I went through every emotion that you're going through right now, so I know how to help, you know.
Yeah.
But don't think for a second that I don't feel, you know, that we don't feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in my early to mid 20s, I got married and I ended up getting divorced. And it was completely out of the blue for me. I didn't know. I wasn't happily married. Had no idea. Surprise. And so I remember just thinking, I can't tell anyone. Well, first off, I'm from a small town. You get married young, you have kids, everything is great. That's just normal. And I was like, but I failed as a wife. Like, that is how I felt. I don't know what went wrong. I couldn't make him happy. The house wasn't clean enough. Like, I don't know. All these wifely things you're supposed to do, don't know what I did wrong. And so I hid in this for a year. I didn't tell anyone. My husband had left me. He had moved out of the house. I didn't tell anyone. And the isolation of doing that by myself. And I remember days that I went to work and I don't know how I got through work that day. And I turned around and I locked the door when I got home and I just fell into a pile, just sobbing and being like, I can't believe I made it through another day. Because I didn't think that I would. And so it's a very weird thing to have navigated that much, what felt like shame, what felt like grief, what felt like just insurmountable alone, that somehow you got through and you learned how strong you can be getting through. And I don't know, even when people come to you and ask for help, if there's ever a way that you can even explain it in certain situations. You know, if you have someone that comes to you and they be like, my mom has breast cancer. I know your mom went through this. What is this going to be like? You're like, I can tell you it won't be fun, but you can't get it until you're in it.
Yeah.
So I feel like even lived experiences and even trying to share stories, it's hard to convey every time.
It is.
It is, right?
There was this one time though. This happened this year. This happened a few months ago.
Okay.
So this lady came into the store in the barbershop to cut her hair, you know, and hopefully I don't cry trying to sell a story because this story is always touching to me, right? She came into the store. It was this black lady, right? It's weird because from the time I saw her, I was like, oh, this person kind of remind me of my mother, you know? It's like one of those times where it's like one of those people who, when they come into the store, we stop playing rap music because you're like, yo, stop. You know, it's
that vibe. That
yeah,
you're
guys,
like,
no,
okay.
no cursing. We have, you know,
behavior.
everyone just knows. Everyone just knows to be on the P's and Q's. So she comes and she's like, oh, she wants to get like a nice haircut. And while I'm cutting her, she starts to cry. So at first, I was like, I don't know if she's crying as yet. At this point, I didn't know she was crying as yet.
Yeah.
Then she starts to cry. Then she's like, I'm so sorry. She's only cutting her hair because she has cancer. She just got diagnosed. And she has her daughter, you know, and it's hard. It's hard on her daughter, the relationship. When she told her daughter, the relationship shattered.
Oof.
So that reminded me of me and my mother. And her daughter is 18. I was 16. So then I explained to her why I went with my mother and how we deal with it. And it made her feel better because then she understood that as a kid, we just don't know how to deal with your hero dying. You do like that's me thinking about it is You know, it's like somebody tell you at 18, at 16 that your hero gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember listening to
And
Tupac.
not even just your hero. It's your hero that's a part of your life.
Exactly.
It's not some poster on the wall. I love this music.
No.
Whatever. This is
the person
the
who
person
look like you, who
made you.
who take you through all your tough times, you know.
Yeah.
And I just remember listening to like all these different tracks. I remember Tupac was my favorite poet back in the day, and he had a poem about when your hero falls from grace, and I would listen to that every single day, and she wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
So on one side I'm crying, and on the other side I'm like, oh, I could do what I want. I don't need to listen to you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But in my mind, that was just me saying, oh, you're going to be gone soon, so I need to learn to live with you. At that age, you thought cancer was the end.
And people still do.
Yeah.
People, you hear cancer and it still reminds you of a death sentence.
Yeah.
When it's very far from, I mean, depending on the type and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
That you have, but it's very far from it these days. And I mean, I remember the first time that I met my oncologist, he was just like, so just so you know, the type that you have and how it's like how your cancer is fed, that's all good. We know we can treat this. I can't make you any promises, but like you're not going to die from this. And I was like, okay, this is not at all what I expected. I expected them to be like, all right,
2 weeks.
10% chance. Yeah, exactly. All the things that you hear and the horror stories that you hear. It's all of those other like quiet moments that are hard, that you realize you actually might have to prepare for someone to be gone. Yeah. Right? Like the doctors tell you it'll be fine and you're doing your treatment and it's working, but like you put up your own guard so that you're going to be okay when she's gone because you've already prepared, right? Yeah. And like, sorry.
Yeah, no.
So it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. I feel like you would do it if you were in your 20s or your 30s or your 50s, and it's your parents.
That is the hard part. And I was telling her, it's like, what she has to realize, because she was all strong about it.
About her hair?
No, about her cancer, having cancer. She said, I'm going to be this. And I'm like, I was like, you have to see that that's not what she want to hear. Mm-hmm. You know, it's that honestly, like, because you're in this situation, you're like, okay, I'm going to be strong. Because you know yourself, you know you're going to be strong. But for somebody who love you and seeing you just acting like nothing happening, and you're like, no, why not addressing what's going on? How you could come and say, oh, I have cancer. And then, okay, good. Go to soccer practice. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, no, we no, what going to happen after you go, we had to stay with daddy. It's like, what we going to do?
Yeah.
You know, so you try to prepare yourself to be a man so that when she gone, you don't have, okay, she gone. I was
ready
done.
For this.
Yeah, I was ready from time, you know, and then you realize how much it hurt the person. So it's like two sides. Mm-hmm. And
because if you are like, when you're the one delivering the news that you have cancer, you're very afraid to tell the person because you love them and you're like, this is going to hurt you. I'm going to tell you the person that you love has cancer. Like, I remember having to tell my parents that I had cancer was the worst part of the whole diagnosis process because I knew, finding out your child has cancer.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine. And I remember thinking, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make this easy on them? Like, their kid has cancer. I was out of myself. Being like, their kid has cancer. How am I going to make it easy? My husband, how am I going to tell him? Right? Like, we knew the testing was happening. How do I tell him? It was our worst fear. And when you kind of don't get a reaction, it hurts. It's like, you don't mean to, but when people are like, okay, yeah, it's fine. We're gonna beat this. And I was like, we are. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Of course you need a million people to support you and do all of this. But also, like, are you sad? Like, do you care? Or, it's hard and it's hard being the person who kind of doesn't put the guard up. But it's hard to be the person on the other end too, being like, okay, so that's it. Like, we're just going to be strong and that's all we get. And yeah.
Yeah. It is, and me talking to you is clearing up a lot too. But because I understand what you're saying, and I understand how awkward it could be for anybody to hear the person that they love have cancer, you know. And honestly, I can't say from when I was a kid because I was a kid then, but we just don't know how to how to deal with it. You know, it's like, do we have to be strong for them, or do we have to show them that we're hurting? If we seem like we hurting, would it make it harder for them?
Right.
Or would it make it easier for them?
Yes.
You know, so it's like, no, let's pretend that we're strong, and then I'll cry with you in terms of your mom and your dad cry together.
Yeah.
You know, whereas for you it's like, no, we should all cry together because it will make me see that we kind of all in the same place rather than you guys just saying, okay, we're gonna be this and then cry together.
Yeah.
In your room.
Yeah.
You know, and for your husband, I give him a lot of respect because it would be hard for him, you know, because it is like I look at my wife and my kids and sometimes they're sick and I'm like, you know what, I wish I could take, and even my brother, he went through a divorce this year. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times I'll see him go through some hard things and I'll be like, if I could only take his pain because I know I could deal with it more, you know?
Yes.
And if I could just take the pains that they go through, I think I'll be happy in life, you know? But
right.
I don't know if I'm making sense, but
no, you are, absolutely, because you don't. The worst thing is the people you love suffering.
Yeah.
And any kind of illness or sickness or grief, it's suffering. And like, you want to protect everyone. If you could, you'd put a bubble on your wife and your kids and everyone in your family and keep them safe from everything, right?
Yeah.
So anytime that they're suffering, it's
hard for you.
It's hard. It's really hard. And I know my husband, Matt, was always just saying, like, I don't know how to make it better. I can't make it better. And I was like, neither can I, right? We got medical teams. We got professionals. They're bringing drugs. That's what's making me better. But everyone's hands are kind of tied and helpless. And that's a really hard feeling. It's a really hard feeling.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine, but I could imagine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You can't imagine the exact situation, but you can imagine the feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, you know? Because I hate to tell people I can imagine the situations because a lot of times you can't, but I could imagine how hard it would have been, you know, and how hard it is, you know, for him. And even for my mom, every single thing that she went through, I was like, is it back? Is it back? She's like, no, is it back? Then one time it did come back. Then it went again, you know, and since then she's been fine, right? She's doing her own thing. She's living life, and then you kind of see it. You know, I think like one time, Chappelle talked about it, and he said is called the saying is called standing too close to the elephant.
Okay.
Because when you stand too close to the elephant, all you see is like the ugly skin, and then when you step back, you see how majestic and how huge and how beautiful an elephant actually is.
Oh, interesting.
You know?
I've never heard that. Okay.
Yeah, so like when you step away from the situation, and me coming to Canada was the best thing too, because me coming to Canada allowed me to miss my mom. And when I was going through my things, and I had my ex-girlfriend had a miscarriage.
It's hard.
Yeah, and when she had the miscarriage, we didn't tell anyone. Mm-hmm. And I come home that day, and my mom was on my couch. She lives in Trinidad.
Oh.
So then I'm like, I'm confused. Like you right now.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, she's like, something told me that you wasn't okay. This is the person who had cancer. So this is why, for me, it was hard. You know, this is the person who, and it just so happened that she was there that weekend. You know, and it was the first time my mom, like that we actually spoke, because she had to raise 3 boys.
Okay.
You know, my dad was in the house, but he wasn't there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, and she had to raise 3 boys. How she know how to raise 3 boys without social media, without information. The only information we had was encyclopedias.
Yeah.
It would take us 15 hours to figure out one thing.
Yeah.
You know, so she had to try to figure out everything, and the only way she could have was by us not seeing her cry. And I saw my mom cry twice. I can still remember when I was a kid. But now I see her cry all the time. She comes and my kid has a cold, she cries. I'm like, you didn't cry for me? What? She's like, you just didn't see. Yeah. But that's the person who raised us. And that's why a lot of the times when you go through these things, you see yourself as Jen.
Yeah.
You know, you say, okay, I'm Jen.
I do this every day. I just live.
I'm Jen from St. Thomas, but the world doesn't see you as Jen. You know, the world see you as this person that we must protect at all costs and we can't lose because so much people depend on you, you know, especially when you're that person who give advice and people know they could run to, you know, think about how much lives run through you, you know, so for that would be a hard conversation for anybody to watch or to see you go through something like that. It would be hard. A lot of people mightn't even reach out. You know, one of my best friends died from cancer.
Really?
And it was around the same time, and I didn't know how to deal with it, and I just didn't reach out.
No.
I just didn't reach out. Until this day, I think about it, you know, till this day I think about it. Mm-hmm. Because it was like, I thought he would get better.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, I don't know. You know, it's like you look at life and you think that life gonna be how you think life should be, and then it's not, and then you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, it's never how you think it's gonna be.
Yeah,
you can make every plan in the world, and it can be. I think it's because we have too specific of like. You know, like, I want to be happy.
Yeah.
I would like to spend the majority of my time doing something I enjoy, whether it's hobbies or I love my job, right? Like, my goals in life are very broad. So that when I take them off, hey, I am happy, right? Yeah. It's not, I want to make sure I drive this type of car and I want to make sure that I am married by this age. Like, those are just, they will never work the way you plan. Like, it just won't. It won't. Yeah. You're going for the wrong reasons. That, like, if you're doing anything for the wrong reasons, you're not going to have the motivation. It's not going to go well. But I will say, and I'm backtracking just a little bit here, and I see the way that you're talking about, like, someone going through divorce or wanting to take away somebody's pain or help in a situation. Like, I can carry that on my shoulders. I would like to take that from you. But I've always told myself that the things that we get through, like, are going to change us, and the changes on the other end are what make you who you are, right? So you're that person that people go to because you've been through it and you give good advice. But you can't get that without basically trudging through the mud. Yeah. So it's a very hard thing when you see somebody you love going through something difficult. And at the same time, it's like this very weird gift that you're like, if you really focus and you make the right, and this is hard, right? Because I say this, you make the right choices, you do the work, you get the result that you want, and you keep pushing yourself toward that, you're gonna come out a better person. You're gonna be intellectually smarter, you're gonna be emotionally smarter, you're gonna be stronger in some way, you're gonna have the capability to help someone else because of what you've been through. It's a weird thing to want to take away people's pain because the people that we look up to the most are the ones who've had the most pain.
Yeah.
So it's almost like this disservice. It's this temporary Band-Aid if we're trying to fix everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So
definitely.
I will say that, you know, being a caregiver or being the person who's feeling like you don't have enough to show up or whatever it is your relationship with somebody, that's a lot on you too. right? That's a lot for you to take on, and that's going to change you as a person.
Yeah.
And it progressively could make you better. And when you look back and you're like, I think about how I acted the way that when my friend passed away from cancer. And we have a friend now, she brings us a meal every single week. And we're kind of like, thank you, I appreciate it. My bank account appreciates it. Like, I'm not fully back to work. I'm still trying to get my life back. And, I'm still at hospitals at least once a week doing appointments. And, like, life after cancer is still a lot of cancer. Yeah. And she told me the story, and she was like, I had a friend in her 20s, and she got cancer, and essentially she just couldn't keep up. She couldn't go to the bar. She couldn't do the things everyone was doing. She's like, I never want you to feel like now that people have forgotten about you or that you're left behind before you're like back to yourself. Because when you're back to yourself, everyone will be like, hey, yeah, Jen's back. Yeah. Exactly. Great to see you up and going. But, I have days where I can still barely walk because of the pain, like my bone pain or my hands, like doing the same repetitive job. I can't go back to work and work as many hours as I used to. And so it's very interesting, the people that are like, I learned this lesson, and now going forward, I'm going to do something else if I'm ever encounter this situation, right? So as much as you want to take away pain, it's like this really weird, terrible gift. If you can look at it the right way.
It is. Yeah. It is. Because it does teach you a lot and gives you character and that kind of stuff. But any moment, any moment.
Oh, in the moment it's awful, and you wouldn't wish things on your worst enemy.
Yeah. Any moment is different, but
yeah.
Yeah, but it's still amazing to see that with everything going on, that you still chase your dream. That make the dream bigger, is that. But in the midst of everything, it could still be like, I still have a dream to work on, and I still have a dream to focus on, and I'm not going to give up on my dream and just do the regular thing because it would be easier right now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's still really good, and that's still commendable,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like you don't have to have cancer to like go for your dreams and live the life you want. Anything can be sort of your dream, what you want, your goals, whatever it is in your life. That has a different meaning for everyone. Yeah. Everybody makes different choices based on their own life, their experience. But when you get everything you want, or it goes exactly how you thought, or you've reached all the dreams, the goals that you've set, you plateau. And like anybody that's hit a plateau of anything, in a diet, in life, whatever, it's not where you want to be.
Yeah.
Right? So you hit your plateau. What's next? What else? What else you got going? Because you're just going to stay there until it's the end of your life. And, it could be when we're 100, and it could be when you're, 30. It could be, who knows? You have no idea. So, like, I just don't ever want to get stuck in that plateau that I'm not working for something else. And like, sometimes those dreams you can't. I can't physically do something. I have to change something. I can't financially afford it. Whatever it is. So, but I don't have to give up on the dream. I can be like, okay, I can only do 1 step now. I can't do 10 steps.
Yeah.
Right? So
exactly.
I'm still going to keep going, and it's going to be 3 steps forward and
just
1
more
step back. But
just one more day.
Yeah,
that's I was watching a podcast one time, and they spoke about the 1 day rule. I don't know if you know about that rule.
No.
It's basically, this one is out of context, but it could be used to any situation, right? It's basically this this rule where you don't think about doing something for the long run. You just think about doing it for 1 more day.
Okay.
So basically it's like this guy, his dad was on drugs, and then he quit drugs, and then he asked his dad if you do drugs again, and his dad told him he can't promise that he would never do drugs again, but he could promise that he wouldn't do it for 1 more day.
Okay.
And then his dad never did drugs again until the day he died. Yeah.
Because you're not climbing up this massive mountain.
Exactly.
Right?
You're just looking at what right in front of you.
Yeah.
And you it's small steps to to doing what we do, like chasing dreams and that stuff, is that most people say, "Oh, what's the big plan?" It's like, I don't know. We don't know if by next year we could see a huge factory. We know that's yours.
Absolutely.
But all you know is that you're doing all these small steps. Yeah, you do have a plan for your life and you have goals and that kind of stuff. But in terms of where it could be, it's not like you have a job and you're like, oh, what's the plan? Oh, I'm gonna be vice president by 2025.
Yeah.
It's like, we could see that.
Yeah.
For us, it's more like how where you think you're gonna be in 2025. It's like, well, I could tell you where I plan to be.
Yeah, I tell you where I hope to be.
Yeah, exactly. I can't tell you. I can't tell you where I'm gonna be. Is that's not how this work. And with everything that we go through, because for me, even it's hard to stay focused on everything. So yes, I could. So what you kind of described to me is like, it's like what I go through, but it make me seem like I shouldn't think like that, because it always has somebody who pushing way harder than I am pushing, if that makes sense.
It does. But I also would challenge that, because people will always say, oh, you're doing so much, or this person's pushing harder than me, or like this person's more successful, and like everyone has a different situation, right? I don't have kids, and now I'm not going to have kids. My husband and I, we wanted them. We started trying, and both of us were like, ooh, not for us.
Yeah.
We're like, you know what? Let's wait. I ended up getting cancer, and now we can't have kids. So we made a decision. It was then very quickly confirmed for us. But I can make a whole bunch of decisions, and I can do things that I don't have to go home and put kids to bed. I don't have to be home at a certain time to feed, everybody dinner. I don't have to, there are a lot of things that I can do because other people have these other responsibilities in their life, right? And the same people will be like, wow, you've done all of these, I can't believe you made this and you did this and you were also, doing treatment or whatever. I'm like, right, but I don't check the news. I don't know what's going on in the world. I don't fill my head with that because it's negative and I don't want it to take up any of my focus. And so I can just shut things out, and not everybody has the ability to be like, the world is scary. My husband will be like, so it's smoky today because there's fires all over Canada. And I'm like, oh, cool. Good to know, right? I literally become oblivious and in this bubble. And I feel like a lot of people compare themselves to other people and forget that we all have lives behind this, right? Because, we all have, and I have relationships with everyone in my family and all of my friends. And when they go through things, I also have that on my mind, and I show up but so does everybody else. And so everyone's thinking about something and busy sort of in their mind, and everyone's kind of trying to get through things. Sometimes. So it's always interesting when people are like, I could never do that, or I don't know how you do this, or I don't know how you have, the capability or whatever. And I'm like, but look at the other things that you do that I don't have to, right?
True. It's just like looking inside, right?
Yeah.
It's easier to look outside.
Yeah. And I'm also a business owner, and that comes with so many challenges, but it also comes with a lot of perks that my friends are like, hey, you're not open today. Do you want to come for coffee at 10? I can be like, absolutely. If I worked for someone, I can't be like, no. So can I have a lunch break for 2 hours? Absolutely not. So, there's benefits and there's drawbacks to everybody's life, but it gives us the capability to do what we're doing with our days and how we're living our lives. And so I don't as much as I see value in being like, yes, like, let me compare myself to someone, or like, wow, look how amazing this is. I feel like if everybody kind of wrote down like your responsibilities in a day, what you do, if you looked at it, let's say as your like 8-year-old self who went to school for 5 hours of the day, had 3 recesses, a lunch break, a gym time. That's a lot of things to do. Like that's a whole bunch of things to do. And the fact that you can just even get through that and function like as a person every day, there's a lot for all of us to deal with, right? Yeah. So like,
yeah, no, you're right.
It's hard to compare situations.
Yeah. Because let's talking about it right now. Actually thinking about all the things that I do, and I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Right, because you probably have people that look at you and they're like, how? Right, yeah. Right. You must have a bunch of people that admire, absolutely, and just think every day, like, oh my gosh, working on this, and a good father, and good relationships, and open and vulnerable, and like those are all attributes you've worked very hard on.
And I think like this year I had one where I'm like, I need to do better. Art still is being a better friend in terms of showing up to hang out with people. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like I didn't hang out. I didn't hang out with anybody for like a year. Like in terms of, like actually sit and hang out.
Yeah.
And I feel like I forget that my friends kind of need that, because I'm just focused on where I want to be right now. And like I do. So we have this barbershop. It's my brother and I. Then I do the podcast and I do film.
Right.
Film production. So it's like, and then I have these kids. Mm-hmm. And then I have a wife.
Yeah.
So it's like you had to make time for your wife. You had to make time for the kids. Individually sometimes. Yeah. You had to make time for yourself. You had to make time for the barbershop. You had to make time for the podcast. You had to make time for the film. At the end of the day, at the end of the weekend, when everyone wants to go out, you're like, oh, I just want to stay and watch a movie, I love watching movies. That's my thing.
Yeah.
I just want to stay and watch a movie, and
it's hard because you get to a point where you're like, something's got to give in the day.
Yeah.
And in life sometimes, and in weeks, and a lot of times it's friendships and relationships.
Exactly.
And if you're anything like me, because I owned a business, I'd be like, oh, you want to hang out? Cool. I'll be in the kitchen at this time. So I'll put a chair, come chill, we'll catch up while I'm working.
So that's what most of them do. A lot of them, they come to the shop to talk, because they know that even if I go to the club, then I feel like I waste my time, because I could have been home watching a movie and got in my mind for what coming the next day.
Yeah. And you're there and you're like, I don't even feel like I really connected with these friends. Or even at work. Because you're like, I'm still working. I'm still doing stuff. I'm still not fully engaged in my relationship with these people. And yeah, it is hard. And it's hard to make the time.
Yeah,
and
it is. But it's something I am working on, so.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
That's fair.
We'll see how it goes.
Well, good luck with it, because it's not easy to organize time.
It's not easy, but I'm getting better at it. Mm-hmm. I must say I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at trying to juggle everything.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes.
And you know what I have done to my friends? Because it's a two-way street, right? Relationships, people can text you or call you just as much as you can call and text them. And so I've said to my friends, hey, I'm busy. I love you. I am forgetful. Like, please send me a message and be like, hello, how are you? Reach out to me. I'm not ignoring you. I'm busy and I'm not prioritizing, friendships right now, and I'm sorry, and I'm doing other things. And then all of a sudden people message me. And a lot of times I'll be like, hey, if you want to hang out, be specific. Be like, can you do dinner next week? Does Thursday work? Because if you're like, want to hang out? Sure, I'd love to. I'd love to see you. Okay, cool. We'll talk soon. It never happens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, be specific. Check in with me.
And with guys, it's worse too, eh? With guys.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think with guys it's worse, but at the same time, I feel like guys way more. Like, for instance, with my friends, it's like, oh yeah, we need to hang out sometimes. Like, yeah, we should actually hang out and take a drink. It's like, yeah, let's plan it. it never happens. But to us, just the intention.
You're like, we
it's
did
like,
it.
It's like, yeah, we try, right? But we tried that one time, we try, you know? And that's like good enough, but it needs to be better, you know? So
Yeah.
in terms of making it better, I'm trying, but
Good.
we all understand that we're going through different things. And for me, life for me is not like, I have to take life as it comes, you know?
Yeah.
So I can't plan for tomorrow because tomorrow like Sunday, I went to a barbecue. When I got to the barbecue, someone called me, oh, I needed to come today to shoot something for me, tonight. You know, so I'm like, okay, cancel this barbecue. I need to leave. It was my birthday yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Oh yeah, thank you. So the night before my birthday, I was gonna stay up and watch movies and stuff. I couldn't. I had to go to this because I had to take it as it comes because I don't know when next opportunity going to come from there.
And you don't know what this opportunity leads to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, okay, we need to go, you know. So for my birthday, I didn't do anything but I wasn't sad about it. You know, I was happy because I got opportunity and that's the best birthday present because I could provide, you know. So, yeah, so it's something I am working on and trying to figure out the pieces to the puzzle. But right now, the priority is like dreams, health, family.
Yeah.
You know, well, I should say health, dreams, family, and in that order only because that's the order I need to provide, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, because you're not healthy. You can't, right? Like, I have now I'm almost a year since I was diagnosed, and I wasn't expecting to not be back to work full time by this point. You know, when I was diagnosed, they said 4 months of chemo, and then you're going to have a surgery, and then you're going to have radiation. And I found it was actually the same, this one step, one day at a time, was the same with cancer. Because my oncologist, I'd ask a question, and he'd be like, no, that's the next step. We're here right now. Like, we are getting through this one, and then we will talk about the next stage. And I was like, okay, we'll worry about it when it comes here. And so, sorry, I've lost my train of thought again.
No, you go.
My poor brain.
It happens to me all the time.
Yes. And so, yes, this making time for everything, one step at a time, like, it's just life, I think. I think that's just going to keep going for us forever. And I think that you're in a stage right now of, you got to be healthy so that you can make money, so that you can provide for your family. But you're at this growth of all of these different pieces at once that you have to put all the effort into. Yeah. And so it's kind of like the work sort of takes priority over other things. And it's not forever, you know.
Yeah, it's just for a time.
Right. It's for a time. It's for a time. But it's also, you know, nice to be able to work. There it is. Yeah. So I was supposed to do 6 months of treatment. And I'm a year and I'm not fully back. And I feel much better. I'm cancer-free now. I did my 4 months of chemo, and then I had a full mastectomy, so I had my surgery, and I have another surgery later this year. So it's also hard to get back into working full-time or opening my shop because I know I'm going to be off again, and like my surgeries mean I can't lift, so I can't do dishes, I can't do anything, so I can't work in the way that I traditionally do my job. So even in my like dream of being this business owner and this chocolate maker, I've had to pivot as well. And I'm very fortunate. My husband and I own the building where our business is located. So I've been able to rent out
the other parts
and make a little bit of passive income. And it's allowed me to get back into work when I can. But I've had a lot of days where, you know, I can only work so much. And then I learned very quickly, like the next day I am resting because my bones are so sore and my body aches. And if I work again, I will get more sick. And so it's a trade-off, right? I can only do so much to do the next thing. So yeah, I mean, good for you for prioritizing your health. But I say, No,
you do. I do. I'm just saying that that's a next deep conversation that we could go into again, you know,
Fair.
because that one was a hard road, a hard and long road to get to where I am right now, because of other health issues and stuff. But yeah. So, but let's read that comment here. Yeah, but as I said before we started this podcast, is that I try to only interview people who I think could have their own podcast, so because I know that they could make mine interesting, you know. So I feel like most people who I did interview have a gift for it, and I think like you definitely have a gift to do and to talk, because you have so much different stories, you know. And I hope that we could get you on the show again.
Of course.
Yeah, and we could talk about different things that's more like life. Well, this was life, but more like we could have different conversations.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. The real life, the vulnerable.
Yeah.
The like, this is being human, being vulnerable, and like, we all go through things.
Exactly.
So
And I feel like it was fun. It was fun to have you, because I this is, you're the first person I never met that came on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. So everyone else I kind of met. I probably had them on Instagram for a while, so you kind of know them.
Yep.
But you're the first person who, this was the first time I seen you, and you know, and
Blind Date podcast.
Exactly. And I don't know. I feel like I learned so much that I don't know. It was. I just want to have more conversations. You know,
course.
I want to have more conversations, and I would like one time to have a conversation with Matt as well. You know,
Absolutely.
and he could come on and we could talk to him.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry,
He is fascinating and amazing, and he's got just as many stories as I do. So.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons I did follow him on Instagram, because he came here one time and I did follow him on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So I only follow interesting people. You know, if someone is too boring, I unfollow them.
That's fair.
I'm like, this person is too boring. He's too political. I'm unfollowing.
Yeah.
You know, it's I don't have time. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but it was nice to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was very fun, and I'm not nervous. So if we do this again, we can jump right into it.
Yeah, and I told you, right? I told you once you have the headphones on and stuff, and you get into it, it flows. You know, you don't even have to try.
Yeah.
And that's what I find with it as well, and it teaches me, because I get to learn so much more about people. You know, I'm here as a student. You know, I'm here as a student, and I just listen to stories, so that's perfect for me.
Which is fun, and it's a good job to have, because people are interesting.
Yeah. They are, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if you wanna talk about the business before we go. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I own a small chocolate shop in St. Thomas, Ontario. It's called Seed Confections. You can find us on Instagram at Seed Confections with a little underscore at the bottom. I specialize in chocolate. We've actually won some awards internationally for our chocolate. I say we, but that was when I was a small little business. I did have some employees. So I do have a small team now. None of them are off. Well, we're kind of closed, or all of them are off, sorry. Well, we're closed. But yeah, so we specialize in chocolates and macaroons, and we're just a little specialty pastry shop. And then, like I said, I had to do a small revamp of the business. So I'm actually designing a commercial kitchen that'll help some new food-based businesses start off, because you kind of start in your house and you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
But it's really expensive to get into a kitchen and a brick and mortar and all the equipment. So my new sort of project is helping businesses get off the ground. Because I now have experience with that, and that'll give me the flexibility to kind of keep doing treatment and keep healing until I'm back to making chocolate and macaroons and back open again full time, hopefully.
Yeah. That's perfect. Perfect. So I know by the end of the year we should be good though. So I'm not worried.
Good.
I'm not worried. But
okay. Good. I like your optimism.
Yeah. And so this is episode 16 on Young and Gifted podcast. Today we got to learn a new, really interesting person. We are shooting at Oxenbourg Barbershop, London's finest. Book your appointment now. So I'll see you guys next week for another episode. Today we had Genevieve, and I'm sure you're going to be hearing more about her, and you should follow her on Instagram because her Instagram is really interesting, as I noted about probably like 15 times before. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yes.
Fun. Oh, thank you. Yeah.